Hey ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ronan and I have been playing the hell out of the Monster Hunter Wilds beta. I've been playing Monster Hunter pretty much since Monster Hunter 2 came out, so I'm a veteran and I love the series. This is a tier list on what I think is the most fun. Now, I don't necessarily mean fun as in damage, I mean how the weapon really feels to play if you compare it to Iceborne and Rise, the most recent games in the series, and probably the most games people are familiar with if you are new to the Monster Hunter series. Obviously, this is opinion based, so everything I say here is absolutely true, and if you don't agree, you're absolutely wrong. Jokes aside, let's go ahead and break it down. So I have 5 different categories, well, really 4. You have the most fun you'll ever have. This is for the weapons in the beta that I just completely was blown away and cannot believe how overwhelmingly fun I had with these weapons. You have the very fun factor, which are weapons that are still very fun and improvements from Iceborne and Rise, but weren't nearly as game changing or just like had that wow factor compared to the top tier. Of course, you have fun, but really doesn't add that wow factor. Really, this is just for weapons that I think are fun if you like them already. Maybe they add some new things that you may think are cool, but not really as cool as other weapons. And then you have not my cup of tea, but still fun in the right hands. I think all 14 weapons that I tested out here in their own right are fun, depending on the situation. But these are weapons that I just did not think really held up compared to the others with the improvements that some of the other weapons had. All right, so starting off, longsword. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like fighting like an anime god? The longsword is already one of the most OP weapons in the series, like since Iceborne and even more so in Rise. And they added some incredible new tech. Like, this goes in the most fun you'll ever have. If you are good at timing your counters and some of the new like anime helm breaker follow-up attacks you can do that do like all like this spinning like extra damage, it literally feels like you're playing an anime game when you play longsword appropriately, and it's really just incredibly fun in the right hands. Now, another weapon that I was completely blown away from, and I'm probably going to end up maining, the hammer. I'm putting this all the way up top. This can go behind longsword. The hammer, man, who thought going bonk would be just incredibly fun? Like, it is just, I cannot describe how much fun I had playing hammer in the beta. Between the damage, the animations, being able to follow up almost all of your attacks between charge, the little dodge, just everything with the hammer just feels incredible. It's like they took Iceborne hammer and they're like, yeah, this is fun. And they took Rise hammer, they're like, this is even more fun. How can we combine the two to where it just feels like almost like a new weapon, but also that old school feel at the same time? And that's hammer. You bonk like crazy and it feels incredible. It's my favorite weapon to date out of the beta, and honestly, I'm probably going to be a hammer main going forward. Now, charge blade. I was an old school charge blade fan, and I like and dislike the charge blade inside of Wilds. So it had a lot of new things for it that I think are really cool. I'm adding it in fun, but doesn't really add that wow factor for me. A reason for that is I like the addition of overcharging your files. I like that you can just charge your files directly into your shield right away. That's really cool. What I dislike about it is how they went about doing Savage Axe mode. I'm not a fan of the way Savage Axe works inside of Wilds compared to Rise and compared to Iceborne. And I really dislike the way they changed to super amp discharge. You used to be able to do super amp discharge like almost back to back within like 5 to 6 seconds and do like big time explosions, which is really useful, especially for elemental type of charge blades. And they changed the way it works. Like you can't just go into a super amp discharge right away. I mean, technically you can. If you have like a small barrel bomb, you can perfect block it and then go into the super amp discharge, but it's just comparing it to the previous editions of Iceborne and Rise, it does not feel as fun to me. I still had fun with it, don't get me wrong, and it, like, if you're playing charge blade just to play charge blade in general, feels cool. But if you're more of a niche player, like someone that's like, I'm all about Savage Axe mode or I'm all about super amp discharge, you may not necessarily like it compared to previous games. So I'm putting it in that category here. Light bowgun. I'll be honest. Light bowgun isn't really my cup of tea. I tried it. I had fun with it, but it was more so because of like a change of pace. I imagine if you're already a light bowgun fan, you're gonna love this weapon because it had some really cool additions that they added, and it feels legitimately like a threat and not just a downgrade compared to heavy bowgun, since heavy bowgun does more damage. The light bowgun in the right hands, I'm sure is gonna be really fun. I'm just not a bowgun like fan, so it's not my cup of tea. Sword and shield, I'm putting this in very fun. So sword and shield already had some cool additions in Iceborne and Rise. I love the way you can just time your assault attack or adrenaline rush, whatever the attack is, where you have to like time your attacks to do extra damage. That's really fun. Being able to basically just like go skyborne and like mount anytime you want. Like the sword and shield is the same sword and shield from Rise, but with that like Iceborne feel. It's just, it feels the same but better. I'm not sure how to describe it, whether it's a little bit more fluid. Adding the extra weakness attacks feels really good with it. It feels like sword and shield just improved, but it doesn't add anything like super cool like longsword or hammer. Like you'd be surprised how much just having a short evasive hammer adds to the gameplay or the cool anime stuff of longsword. Sword and shield doesn't really have that like super cool like, yeah, that's awesome feel, but it is really fun still. Now switch axe. Oh my god, I'm not sure where to put switch axe. Switch axe is one of those weapons with focus mode, because you can aim your attacks. Like focus mode makes so many more weapons just incredibly more viable than they ever were before. I'm putting it in very fun. I had a lot of fun with it, and if you are a switch axe main, like I cannot wait to see some of the stuff you can do with different armor like skills and stuff like rapid morph and all kinds of different file effects that you'll have in the main game. But at least in the beta right now, although I found it to be really fun, I like the additions of like the things they did to improve axe mode and improve your like charge file and everything else like that. It's just, it didn't hit as hard as the top two category for me. But I do know a lot of people loved it and it's their favorite weapon. I mean, doing zero sum discharge so a monster's face, like come on, who doesn't like doing that? Now, dual blades. These are going in the most fun you'll ever have. The dual blades, like, oh my god. Attack on Titan spin mode is back. You have like perfect dodge mode. Like if you are a technical player that can aim your dodges correctly to where you can get perfect dodges, and you just like feeling like you literally are anime, but you're not a longsword fan, dual blades is the way you want to go. I mean, you can literally be Levi from Attack on Titan and do that cool spin attack. It feels great. Although the dual blades damage wise probably feel like they got nerfed compared to previous games, it's still incredibly fun. Greatsword. All right, greatsword is, I don't know where to put it. Like the addition of greatsword that they have isn't anything like crazy over the top, because it's just a greatsword. Like you still do heavy damage, you still do your charge tackles and everything else. The addition of being able to like block the monster's attack and like push back on them is really cool. And because you can aim almost in a 360, not quite a 360, but pretty close, your true charge slash with focus mode, it makes the greatsword just one of those heavy hitter weapons that just is incredibly better because of quality of life improvements. So greatsword is either going to be the most fun you'll ever have if you just enjoy bashing big numbers, or it's going to be very fun. So for me, I'm putting it in very fun because the most fun you'll ever have, I'm saving that for weapons that truly blew me away in the beta. And the greatsword for me was just one of those weapons that it felt better than before, but also if you take away focus mode, it kind of feels like the same thing, I guess you could say, while the others don't. Bow. So bow I'm putting in fun, but didn't really have that wow factor. I think the bow in Rise is way more fun than it is currently in the beta, and maybe because I played it wrong. The bow is cool, it just doesn't feel like it flows as fluently, but maybe that's also because I didn't have the armor skills that I'm used to having with the bow set up. Still very fun, but the wow factor compared to the other weapons definitely wasn't there for me. Insect Glaive. Insect Glaive is, again, one of those categories of it's either going to be the most fun you'll ever have, or very fun. Like doing the attack on the monster's head and then just doing the whirlwind, like I'm not sure how to describe it. It's just like the tornado attack is hilarious, and like watching my friends do it while I was like bonking monsters in the head was hilarious. But it's also one of those weapons that feels like it's also nerfed compared to previous editions. The improvement on the Kinsect is also very nice. I do like that a lot. So if you're already a Insect Glaive fan, you'll probably have even more fun than you ever had before. If you're new to weapons, this will probably just be very fun to you. I'm not sure how to explain it. To me, it's very fun. I love the cool twirly, like whirlwind attack you get with it, but it didn't hit as hard as the top three. Hunting Horn. This is going in the most fun you'll ever have. Like, oh my god. For a support weapon, and a controversial weapon at that, because Rise Hunting Horn was a clear departure of gameplay compared to Iceborne. They basically took a little bit of nuance from Rise when it comes to making it feel more of a damage weapon compared to support, with the technical like capabilities of Iceborne, and it's a great combination. Being able to beat monsters in the face of music notes, and able to add like almost like a counter attack, like your offset melody, putting bubbles down on the ground, and just doing all kinds of extra KO damage and everything else in between is incredibly fun. And hunting horns in general, every hunting horn you have will have different songs. So if you're more of a player that enjoys the support S type kind of gameplay, but also really like having a lot of damage and just having fun with your friends, hunting horn is going to be incredibly fun, especially like the weakness attack where you bang into the monster's face and you can play like 5 notes back to back and like directly in their brain. Like, it's really fun. And to be quite honest, hunting horn was my favorite weapon in the beta until I did hammer. I'm a bonk boy. I love my bonks. Hunting horn is really fun. And then I did hammer and I had even more fun. Now the final 3, Lance is going down here. Not my cup of tea. Maybe you'll have fun with it in the right hands, but it really didn't feel that great to me. I mean, it's the Lance, so it's already, in my opinion, one of the more boring weapons, but it's just damage wise didn't feel great. It's super defensive, which is what the Lance does, but it's just, I don't know, man. It's just, I almost was tempted to put another category of weapons that I just think aren't fun, but I know certain people would enjoy the Lance playstyle, so I'm putting it here. But to me, the Lance is the least fun weapon I've tried in the entire beta. Heavy Bowgun. Now, the Heavy Bowgun is, I don't know how to describe it. It's a nice change of pace for me because I am all about the bonk, but the Heavy Bowgun was also really fun to use. But it's really not my cup of tea either. I'm probably gonna, like, if you're a Heavy Bowgun fan, you'll enjoy it, but it didn't really add anything like incredibly new that I think is gonna blow your mind. But it did add some fun factor in general, so I guess I'll put it down here. Fun, but doesn't really add that wow factor. And the last one, the Gun Lance. The Gun Lance is a weapon that I only dabbled with partially when I tried speedrunning in Iceborne a little bit. I didn't really use it that much in Rise. I'm putting it down here in fun, but not really having that wow factor, because it does what the Gun Lance does. But the main thing about Gun Lance I cannot like express even more is the sharpness. Like, Gun Lance always had terrible sharpness. They fixed that, at least in the beta they did. It feels like the sharpness for the Gun Lance is so much better, and because of that, it's already more fun. Add in being able to aim your attacks and some of the new additions that they have, it is really fun. But if you compare it to the top 8 weapons that I think are very fun and the most fun you'll ever have, it doesn't compare to me. But that's also maybe because it's more of a side weapon to me compared to others that may main it. So looking at my list, the most fun you'll ever have, you got your hammer, longsword, dual blades, and hunting horn, and I stand by that. I think all 4 of these weapons, if you have not tried them yet, do it. And once you can understand how to chain your attacks together for the hammer, if there's really fun bonks in the longsword, just anime-esque style plays, becoming Levi from Attack on Titan for dual blades, and just do like, who doesn't want to doot enemies to death with the hunting horn. Like, I love all 4 of these weapons, and I think they go in the most fun you'll ever have. Very fun. Again, you could put these in the most fun you'll ever have if you are like a main for these weapons, but I do think most of these weapons are more fun because of focus mode, while the top 4 weapons are more fun because of everything they added in general, not just because of the focus mode additions. Anyway, guys, this is my tier list. I'm sure plenty of you will disagree with me. Comment down below your thoughts. I'd love to hear what you're gonna like basically main in the new game. I'm probably doing hammer and hunting horn, but may dabble in sword and shield and, you know, great sword as well. We'll see. Anyway, I'm Ronan. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. See you next time.